Hey everybody, this is BJ and Cooking and Things. I'm back. I got another one for you today. It's going to be deer. How many people like to eat deer? But this is my deer meat. It's cut up in chunks. I have already cooked it, boiled it. And it was boiled with sage, onions, red pepper, salt, black pepper. And now what I'm getting ready to do to it next, I'm going to break it up, tear it apart, and I'm going to re-season it and put it in the oven. And I'm going to make a hash out of it. It's called deer hash. And this is going to be supper tonight. And I'll have some kale with it. And I try to do our video on my kale so you see how I cook my kale too. Because I cook my kale about like I do my collards when I fry them. And I probably have cornbread, my cornbread fritters, patties, and whatever y'all want to call them. And probably some macaroni and cheese. And that's going to be supper. But just stay with me a while. And if you haven't never ate deer, because some people say they don't like deer because it has a wild taste. Well, before I cooked this deer, I washed it, cleaned it, make sure there was no, hair, nothing else on it. It shouldn't be. And I put it in some water, and I soaked it with some vinegar. You can put vinegar in it. I put probably two or three caps full of vinegar. Just white vinegar. And now what I'm doing is pulling out fat like this. I know some people want to eat this fat. I don't eat fat. Can't eat the boiled fat. That's not in my vocabulary, y'all. And thank God my family don't like it either. So I go through it and pick it all out. And then the broth that I could use had left over, and I took the deer up out of the pot. I'm going to put some potatoes and probably carrots on it and make a stew out of it. Be like a beef stew, but it's going to be deer stew. And to put the vinegar on the deer and let it soak overnight, that helps take the wild taste out of the deer when you're cooking it. But the best way to get the wild taste out of deer meat before you cook it is while you're cleaning it. When you first get the meat and you got it chopped up and you're cleaning it up, getting ready to put it in the freezer, try to take all the blood that you can, wash it off that meat. And if you see where the meat, the bullet had went in the meat, open it up, and if it's a blood clot in there, get that clot out. Because that's where that wild flavor's coming from, is that blood that's left in that wild animal. I like deer. I like rabbit. And I have eaten coon, y'all. I used to cook coon just like this. But I haven't eaten coon in a long time. It's been many years. No, I don't like squirrel. If you want to know if I like squirrel, no, I don't like squirrel. I can cook it, but I just don't like the taste of it. It's a taste that I can't just accept it in my mouth for some reason. I don't know why, but my family would eat squirrel. My grandma raised us to eat squirrel, coon, deer, rabbit, duck, wild duck. We eat that. But one thing she would never let us eat, but she would cook it for people in the neighborhood. They would pay her to cook it, was possum. Giving you a little story about some wild stuff before, I finish. But she would always cook possum for anybody that wanted it in the neighborhood. They knew she could cook wild animals real good. But she wouldn't let us eat it. But she wouldn't cook it for us. And she didn't eat it. She always told us, no, you can't eat possum, because possum is like, but put it this way, he'll eat anything that's dead and not dead. He's like the buzzard that walks on 4 legs instead of 2. And she'll tell you he'll eat anything dead. So, no, I can't eat that. I don't want an animal that eat roadkill or anything else laying around that's dead. I don't want that. And see, when you cleaning deer, y'all, you'll find and cook it, you'll find a gelatin like consistency on it, and it looks just like jelly, rubber like. I cut that off after I cook it. I can't eat it. I don't know what it is, but I don't eat it. But you cook deer, coon, and rabbit about the same way. I like fried rabbit. I like to take those legs and fry them up. Now you ain't got much to eat when you take and try to fry them back. Ain't no good in it. But I'll eat it. But I like fried legs off the rabbit, but I'd rather take the rabbit, and boil it like I did this deer with some sage and onions, red pepper. Soak it overnight. I don't put a lot of vinegar in the rabbit, just a dab, because I love the taste of the rabbit. It don't have that wild taste like that. And then after I get it boiled, and I break it apart like I'm doing this, the rabbit, and I put more onions, more sage and red pepper and salt and black pepper in it. And I make a roux, and I put gravy on it, y'all. Rabbit's good cooked that way. But this is the way you want your deer to look. You want to break it up just about like you're making barbecue. But you want it to look like this. The next main ingredient will go in it will be onions. You put onions in it. And I got a large onion, y'all. Yeah, I'm sitting down trying to cook today because I haven't felt good today. I don't know what the problem is. I've just been feeling bad. Feeling a little weak, face flushed. But I'm trying to still do a video. Trying to get some content out. I'll bring me my cup too, baby, and drink. So, leave me a comment in the comment section and tell me what you're having for dinner today. Or I would really like to know, have you ever eaten deer? Have you ever cooked deer? What do you think about it? I mean, what is your thoughts about it? Yeah, when I cut these onions up, I cut them up real fine. But I just do chop them up because the more onions in the deer, the better it tastes. And when I get ready to cook the stew off the broth for the deer, I do it the same way. I re-season all that again. I put more stuff in that broth, more onions, more sage, more red pepper to make sure it's got the flavor that I want on it. And you don't even have to pull this apart and bake it in the oven. You can leave it in the pot and put potatoes and onions and all that on it, carrots, make a stew with the deer. But I don't like boiled deer. I don't know, I'm just a person, I don't like boiled meat. Yeah, you can say, well, maybe that's the reason you're so fat. Probably. But I'm not going to eat no boiled meat unless it's a life-threatening situation. I don't like boiled meat. It's just something about that water and me and boiled meat. I don't know. I just don't like it. But my grandma cooked it. She ate it. I didn't eat it. And she didn't make us eat it. Now, that was one thing about my grandmother. When she cooked food and she knew we absolutely didn't like it and we didn't eat it, she didn't make us eat it like some people would make their children or eat the food they cook. They would say, well, you eat or do without. No, not my grandmother. And I love her for that because she absolutely knew that we would not eat it. She would cook us something else when she started cooking. She'd say, well, I'm cooking this and I know you're not going to eat it, but I'm going to cook you this. And I think that's the way parents that's raising their children should be. If they know their kids won't eat something, don't make them eat it. I mean, yes, it was hard times. Hoover days. I know my great-grandma talked about stuff like that. And you had to eat biscuits and coffee. You ever heard tell of that? Take a biscuit and put it in your coffee. Sometimes that was breakfast. Fat back, whole cake flour bread, and made gravy out the grease out the fat back. That was breakfast for them because that's all they had. But if you knew your child didn't need that, they didn't want the fat back, make sure you give them extra gravy. Because come on, y'all, some people just is not going to eat certain food, and I'm like that. Certain things I'm not going to eat, I just can't swallow. If I was to swallow it, I'd have to be somewhere and make sure if I was going to throw up, I had something to throw up in, because some food just makes me sick. And I know it's a texture thing for me. And I guess that's what it is about boiled food. It's a texture thing in my mouth. I don't know. I don't like it. But I'd like for y'all to comment with me and let me know some of the things that you've eaten wild, if you ever cooked it. But I think this deer here came from my nephew. That's what it was. My nephew gave me this. He hunts. He don't hunt as much as he used to, but he hunts. Okay, that was the onion. Now I'll put black pepper on it. And I'll show you the secret. I got a secret in every ingredient of every food just about I cook that was different from what my grandmother cooked. And my grandmother didn't do some of the things I did, but I learned most of my stuff from her. But I still had my own technique. That was black pepper, salt, and red pepper, y'all. And like I said, some of this pepper here is my pepper that I growed in the yard, in the garden, and dried it out myself, and I crushed it up and put it in the red pepper I had already got. But this is the secret to my deer hash and my rabbit. This is bacon drippings, fat back drippings that I put up. I don't throw that away because I cook my greens with it, my beans with it, dry beans, green beans. And this is the secret to my deer. It's got to have some oil in it, y'all, because deer is very, very, very dry. And I probably put a large serving spoon or more in that. And I'll give you the next ingredient to it. And then I always taste it. I sample it to make sure it's right. I'll be right back. Come here, Cam. Make sure everything's out this way so I can start the oven. Oh, this is my next ingredient, everybody. It's the broth, some of the broth that I out the pot of the deer. Then you just mix all this up. Let me use the other hand so I can take this ring off. I can't. Well, I can take the rings off this finger too. I did it before I thought about it, y'all. Mix it all up. You want some juice in it because, like I said, deer is very, very dry. It's a lean meat. Even it don't have fat on it like most animals does. Has a very little amount of fat. I'll be right back. I got one more ingredient, y'all. You got the oven on, baby? 350. This is the next ingredient, y'all. It's sage. Good old sage. And that's what makes the deer. Sage. Make sure it's in there. And it looks like I might have to put more red pepper. And see, I cook, but I don't use a recipe. I just go from what I think or what I, how it looks, how it smells. And sometimes, and I don't know if you ever heard tell of this, and y'all don't know if you ever seen people do this. This is the reason I like for y'all to leave me a comment and let me know. Especially if you were raised by your grandparents and they cook like this. And I know a lot of people down here in North Carolina in the southern part, they cook like this, especially if they were raised in the 50s and 60s. And I was. More water. The broth for the deer now. Because like I said, you don't want it to get dry. And I'm not that particular fond about just staying in front of the camera. I want you to see the food that I'm cooking. That's what I want you to see. And I want you to try it. Especially if you've never ate deer before. And this is the way, this is what you want it to look like, y'all. You want it to look like that. Deer meat, onions, red pepper, sage, bacon grease, salt and black pepper. Get some more red pepper. Like I said, this will be eaten with cornbread patties, fried kale. This is going to be our dinner for today. I'd rather have collards, but I don't like to eat collards in the summertime. I like collards in the winter when after the frost. We have our frost and the frost hit those collards. Oh, they're so delicious. Now what I do next, y'all, is I take me a piece of the deer, just a piece, and put it in my hand, and I sample it. Make sure it's okay. Got enough salt. Not enough black pepper. Be honest, I could put a little bit more of everything. I don't want more oil. A little bit more sage. A little bit more red pepper. Now, I think that'll do it. Yes, you see me taste it, but I didn't taste it with the same hand I'm working with. I put it in my other hand. I don't believe in double dipping. I don't like that. If I'm going to taste my food, I use a spoon or fork, or I use it and put it in my other hand like I'm doing now. You see this hand's not going back in the pot because I'm getting ready to sample it again. Okay. That's it. That's what I want it to taste like. Now, what I do, I will put aluminum foil on top of this. Turn the oven on 350. Put it in the oven. Let it bake for at least 10 minutes until these onions get soft, start turning soft. Because all of this is done. All I'm doing now is cooking the other ingredients in this meat to season it and let it cook through there good. And this will be done. That's part of my supper. But I'll be back to show y'all. Well, this will be the full finished product anyway, because this is exactly what it's going to look like. But this is how you make deer hash, y'all. If you would like to try it one day, remember what I put in it. I cleaned it first. When I mean clean, you pull all the, because deer will have hair on it. When you're cleaning and cutting it up, make sure you don't have any hair, any trash, any dead straw, anything out of the woods to be on the skin sometime. Take all that out, wash it real good. Get as much of the blood out of that meat. That is the key. Get all the blood that you can get out of that meat. Then I put it in a bowl, put water on it, and I put vinegar in it, and I let it sit overnight. The next day, I put it in a pot, covered it with water, salt, black pepper, onion, and sage. That's it. Boil it till it gets tender that you can pull it apart. Take it out of the water, put it in your pan that you're going to cook it in, tear it apart, pull the skin, little soft pieces in there that you ain't going to eat. I'm not going to eat it. Or if you see a blood vessel, pull it out. Reseason it. Onions, sage, salt, black pepper, and cooking oil. If you don't want to use fatback grease, or you don't want to use bacon drippings or something, I even use sausage drippings and pork chop. I don't use hot dog and bologna. I don't use that grease that I cook with. I don't use that. And if you don't want to use that oil, just use some regular cooking oil. Pour in it, and a cup of broth to about this much meat. And this is over 2 pounds of meat. Put a cup of broth in it, mix it up, cover it up, put it in the oven on 350, bake it for 10 minutes. That's it, y'all. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share, comment. I would love to have some comments where I can, talk back to you and tell you about this. And I'd like to know if you have tried it and what do you think about eating wild meat. Because who knows, people, we might have to do this again one day. My ancestors did. That's all we had. Bye, y'all. I'll be back.